Hello and welcome to another episode of No Splinters. It's Harry and Halftime once again, and we're joined by you just made a load, right?
Mate,
Clank.
I just fucking, I went to like move my microphone and knocked it over.
Right,
Sorry.
take two. Who knows? Might leave it in, might not. Harv
Yeah.
doesn't know how to use technology. Yeah. So welcome back, guys. No Splinters. Week number. I don't even know what we're on, are we? But it's early December. Christmas is nearly here, and yeah, I'm back with Harv once again. How you doing, Harv?
Yeah, good mates. Happy as ever to see you. Not so much about Frat Frank or Fragile Frank down in London. Yeah, wasn't a pleasurable viewing, but yeah, we go again.
You're right. You do go again, but obviously going all right, not too bad. I mean, decent enough performance. I was driving during the time, but yeah, I mean, it's a way to sort of one of the best sides in Europe. To be fair, Chelsea, you've got to say they're in the top 10, so it's not too disappointing. But I'm sure we'll get onto it. In fairness, I think we'll start with
Yeah.
Chelsea. We'll just jump straight in.
Mm.
I just obviously, guys, if you want to check us out on YouTube or on Facebook, social media, we're on there. Hopefully, going to get some more content going up over the next few weeks, but it's quite a hard ask. But we'll Chelsea straight away, and obviously the Champions League. It's going to be a feisty show. We'll touch upon the few Champions League sort of top of the groups, and then we'll hit United because obviously they cost themselves last night. But Chelsea, champions of the group, flying high in Europe, flying high in the league. Yeah, it's going well for Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately so, but that's just shows when you've got a lot of money to throw around on average strikers and you know £70 million ponies in the middle of the pitch, you should be winning your games. But it's interesting. I don't know if you saw Bielsa's press conference, but he said Leeds up there, sort of energy level, second best performance in the league. But actually, contrasting to Chelsea, they up there running stats, sprint stats by 20%. So it does show that Fat Frank must know something about football because the only way to beat Leeds is to match them physically and class shows. But Chelsea last night, I watched some highlights. FK Krasnodar, the mighty Krasnodar. I don't know if you're aware of them, but they're one of the only few Russian teams to ever win points in the Champions League. So they must be half decent, and it must have been a tough one for Abramovich to watch, given he's well liked in his motherland of Russia. So no, but I mean Chelsea going well. Jorginho penalty. Abraham for me. Oh, I tell you what, he's a lucky boy to be starting on that pitch. He was average again last night. Defensively, Chelsea look excellent at the minute. If it has to be said on a serious note, even with Kepa in goal, he's £72 million keeper that he's not happy with. Gets the game on a Tuesday night, and he does all right. But no, as a whole, I think Frank's done a really good job there with their defence. I think that's really making the difference.
I've just got to stop the fans in the tracks. Obviously, I'm looking at you on the camera, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see Harv's background. He's currently enshrined by a Marcelo Bielsa picture where he's angry, sat on his honchos. But quite amusing. But no, do I agree or do I not agree? Obviously, last night it was a dead rubber game against Krasnodar, so it doesn't really mean much. People like Tammy Abrahams isn't up for it. He's a mid-table striker. I think we've sort of seen that last year. He had a purple patch at the beginning, but ever since then he's been pretty average. And yeah, to be fair, I mean, cracking results. Sevilla last week, Chelsea was 4-0. They've won the group, undefeated in the Champions League. And yeah, they're top, and they might get, well, I say might get an easier side coming top of the group. Obviously, there's still a lot of good sides out there, like the PSG. I mean, Barcelona aren't very good, but coming top for Chelsea is pretty impressive in Frank's first season in Europe. Well, second season, isn't it? But yeah, he's done well, as to be fair. I think Frank's going okay. Obviously, Liverpool playing tonight. I mean, when this pod goes out, hopefully it'll be just before Liverpool have gone. But obviously, they're going away to Midtjylland, and they'll be taking the mighty Midtjylland. And I hope they'll be taking a young side. I don't want to be seeing any of the Premier League starters going. Hopefully, it's a chance for them to get a rest. But obviously, wins against Ajax, and obviously a brilliant performance away at Atlanta. They've topped the group and they've done what they needed with one game to go, and it's all you can ask for the Reds.
Yeah, no, Liverpool after, well, I wouldn't say a slow start, but I mean the Aston Villa game definitely. You've got to ring the alarm bells when you lose 7-2 to a team like Aston Villa, but actually Liverpool are they sort of faltered out last season in the Champions League. I think gets thrown under the carpet a bit because how the season ended. But actually, you should have done a lot better last year in Europe. And I think Klopp will make a priority out of this as well as the league. And I like the look of your young keeper. I jokingly said, "Who the chuff's in net for you?" But the Irish lad actually, I watched the game back when they played Ajax, and he had a right game against Ajax, and that should surely be the number 2 going forward for Liverpool, because Adrian, every time he's come in, has looked really suspect for me. I think you can have the best team in the world, but if you have a dodgy keeper, he's going to cost you games further down the line. So for Liverpool to actually bring in a young kid who, in my eyes, looks, I've only seen him play twice, but he looks a lot better than Adrian. Can only be a good thing for Liverpool going forward that they've got another player that looks like he's going to step in and the momentum, the bus goal. And as I say, you're going to have a front three of Salah, Mane, Firmino, or Jota, all rotating in. So life's good as a Liverpool fan. I think if you ask me, I think you'd be quite happy with how you're going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think I'm going to touch upon it next week. Hopefully, going to have a Spurs fan on with ourselves to sort of to preview, obviously, and have a look at it's Liverpool Spurs in it next week, which is a massive game at the top of the table. Yes, but I think Liverpool are going brilliantly. I mean, I've done a few things beforehand, but I won't ruin it for next week in terms of why Liverpool is showing that they are the best team in the country and they should be strong favourites for the Premier League. But yeah, they've gone well in Europe and obviously qualified with a game to spare and against the weakest team still to play. Good going. And obviously, yeah, you're right. The last 16 last year we came unstuck, but hopefully we can go further this year and get back to the back-to-back finals that we had in 18 and 19. Man City, again, another side that have already qualified, top of the group. Fairly poor group, in fairness. Marseille, Olympiacos and Porto. It's quite nice for them to have an easy group. They always seem to do. Whoever they have this massive hatred of UEFA for Manchester City, but they always seem to be on the right side of the draws. So they aren't all bad.
Of legal rulings as well, if memory.
Yeah, absolutely. We're giving them no ban, but what we are going to do is going to give them a massive fine. So Man City fans think they're not guilty, but obviously getting a fine will pay the way out of it. But yeah, no, we'll just Man City, yeah, they've gone well and in Europe, not so much in the league. But I think we're gonna talk about the big game this weekend and move on to the other Manchester side, Manchester United, who haven't gone so well in Europe, have they? No, knocked out last night at the hands of the mighty Leipzig. Yeah, just a sport energy drink, a few United fans said. And I saw a couple of good tweets from Manchester United accounts on the old Twitter saying 6 points from 6 after 2 games. What a brilliant position. We're already in the last 16. Can't wait. All this. Ole in. Well, how quickly it turns. Let's just look at it from the start, right, Harv? After 2 games, they'd won away in Paris and they'd battered last season's Champions League semi-finalists Leipzig at home. So PSG and Leipzig came across each other last year in the semi-final, didn't they? They'd gone away in Paris and they'd won, and then they'd battered them 5-0 at home. 6 points from 2 games. Leipzig, PSG, both 3 points against after 2 games themselves, with each other to play twice. United having to go to Istanbul Başakşehir to sort of get 2 wins, and that would qualify them from the group. 4 games later, and they're out. They're back in Europa League, playing on a Thursday night. I saw the Europa League tweet Manchester United, welcome back. Got a lot of favourites, one of them from myself, and I enjoy it. What more could you ask for as an anti-Manchester United supporter, I suppose? It's terrible. At the end of the day, it's absolutely shocking. They beat PSG away and they batter Leipzig at home. They have the reversed legs and they get beat by both. They go to Istanbul Başakşehir and they get absolutely played off the park. 2 things that highlight the performance from Manchester United in Champions League for me. The first one is that away leg in Istanbul when they had no defenders and Demba Ba went through one-on-one with the keeper. I've never seen as poor a display from a side as that. But then, a couple of weeks later, Paris come to Old Trafford, and I don't even know how to explain what happened with Fred, but how he was still on the pitch for even to get his second yellow.
Naive management. He got
shocking.
Got away with murder, and then Ole. Any other manager would have taken Fred off, because that's just when your player's headbutting someone, it probably tells you that he's Swede somewhere down the M62 and not at Old Trafford. So you're probably going to take him off, and then to leave him on, it was just asking for him to be sent off. It's just stupid. But it goes further than this. We all know Bruno Fernandes. He is literally Mr. Manchester United. Without him, Ole would be on a deck chair in Dubai getting paid to flout some sort of dodgy perfume. You know what I mean? He would not be in football management. However, he's still the manager. And if you look at the start of the season, at Old Trafford, they've got 1 point from their opening 4 matches before beating West Brom. It was their poorest start since 1971. Does that not tell you early doors that this ain't going to work out? You know what I mean? Fernandes has literally been bailing Manchester out. And the only, I want Ole to stay. Give him another 20, 30 years, if you're asking me. It's brilliant. Give him the empty contract, like Rio says. The only saving grace is we play him soon. So I hope we pick a bit of form up. And then, I think the only man in Manchester that's happy that they're in Tier 3 is Ole, because he's not going to get stick from the fans, is he? He's going in and out in a bubble. He can't see it, he can't hear it. You know what I mean, Harry?
Absolutely, no, I've got absolutely no doubt. I mean, the thing is about Manchester United fans, they're a weird one. Some of them love Ollie, some of them are like, meh, he's not the right man, but we don't want to have a go at him. It's not that bad. I mean, my favourite thing at the moment is Manchester United doing the league table of 2020. I don't know about you, but I didn't realise that the Premier League was played over a calendar year. I mean, they're second in the league according to everyone. No, you're not, lads. You're fifth. You're fifth, and you're in sort of. They're in a false position, right? I've had a look at this weekend, and if we go through it, the first game was against Crystal Palace at home. They lost 3-1. Right? Fair enough. You can lose against the first game of the year. It is what it is. The second game, they go to Brighton. They get a penalty after the final whistle. Very, very fortunate to get that. So they gained 2 points.
We said at the time, Fergie to be proud of that one. I mean, getting a penalty after the whistle had gone.
It was impressive. It took Fergie time to a new level.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was 96. There was only 5 minutes injury time, and it was 96 and a half minutes on the clock when it occurred. Brighton had 54% possession and 18 shots to United's 7, 5 of which were on target for Brighton, only 3 of which were on target for Manchester United. They had a higher passing accuracy as well. So they got played off the park at Brighton. They got the 3 points, and I suppose that's all that matters, some will say. But they got played off the park. Then week after, they get battered by Spurs 6-1. A week later, they go to Newcastle. They got the win 4-1, but it was 1-1 until the 87th minute. Newcastle are a terrible side. A week later, it's Chelsea at home, 0-0. Whenever a couple of days later or a week later, they lose at home to Arsenal. So after the first 6 games of the season, they're fortunate, really, to have had more than 5 points. And since then, they've turned the tide in terms of they got 4 wins on the road, and I thought they played well at Everton. I think that's the only performance I've seen from Manchester United. But then you go to the West Brom game. They pick up 3 points against West Brom. We touched upon it at the time. VAR gave them that game, didn't it? West Brom should have had a penalty, and Manchester United were fortunate to get theirs. And then, obviously, exactly on a retake, I mean, it's all in their favour. You could say that it is what it's sort of the game, but everything's going their way. And Southampton, they came from 2-0 down. It's impressive they came back, but West Ham, they were 1-0 down, they came back. But at the West Ham game, that ball went out. That ball was how far out of the pitch? I mean,
as a fan, if that happens to your team, you take it. I don't think you can hold that against Man United in any way. I mean, if that's Leeds and that happens, I'll be thinking happy days. It's up to the officials. But I mean, to your point, away from home, they are all right. But I was just reading earlier about Manchester, and basically, XG is the expected goals, and if you take penalties away from the XGs at Old Trafford, it's 0.14 for an XG. That is horrendous. If you know anything about XG, that means they're really not creating any chances. Whereas you on the road, their XG is sort of 9.6. So for whatever reason, there's a voodoo about playing at Old Trafford at the minute. But I think that the thing is they're getting bailed out by Fernandes and penalties. If you take them away, they're doing an Arsenal, mate. I'm sorry, Fernandes is literally carrying them at the minute.
He is. He's a quality player, but I just think you say about the VAR that they gave him the goal. They were 1-0 down, and the comeback was on. But the ball was 1.5 meters out. I'm saying that they're fortunate. I think people are going on about where they are in the league, and they're only X amount of points behind Liverpool and whatever it is with a game in hand. But it's a false reading. I mean, they've been terrible all year, and if you really think that Ole going to, it's not like they're having a dip in form. This is sort of the way they're playing. They're getting lucky. There's no evidence that Manchester United are going to sort of turn around and take off. There's no evidence that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got the magic touch. He gets the odd performance when they needed it. I remember at Everton they were struggling, weren't they? And they got that 3-1 win. And it was a decent performance. But they've never put, other than the first few weeks when Ole came in, back to back performances. You've got to take away the points because it's sort of short term. Is he the right man to take Manchester United on? And to me, I look around and Barcelona and Real Madrid are going to be in the market for managers soon. Both of them are having stinkers in Spain. And especially with Real Madrid tonight, if they go out of the Champions League, I think Pochettino could be in Madrid by Thursday morning. And it's...
They missed the boat.
Who knows?
On Pochettino. They missed the boat on Pochettino.
I think he's going to be gone.
I can't understand how the start of this season they didn't go and get Pochettino, because it's clear they need someone that's gonna really sort of shake them up. But I mean, the problems at Old Trafford lie deeper than the manager. You've got Pogba giving it all that he's not happy there anymore. It's like
his agent as well.
Yeah, and his agent's giving it the big one. But I mean, Pogba's got some opinion of himself. He's done jack all for them. He scored yesterday, but I mean, he wouldn't have scored unless the defender literally needed it in. It's an own goal, if you ask me. But Pogba's got some cheek. He scored one goal against West Ham, but if Pogba thinks he's as good as he is, why has he not been doing that more often? I think the timing of the note is appalling. You've just going into Leipzig, you've got a big game, your manager's under pressure already, and then Raiola gives it the big one that Pogba's not happy. Well, I tell you what, I spoke to a few Man United fans and they want 1 ounce of sympathy for Pogba at all, because they've got Fernandes now and that's it. And I've just been reading that I've just been looking at the sack race, and Ole is now the favourite for the sack, which doesn't surprise me.
When you've got him at 10-1 like me with £10 on, it's quite good to hear.
Yeah, and they're eyeing up Diabala, but it doesn't matter who you eyeing up. You need to sort everything out. Diabala is going to be a good signing, but you need rid of Pogba first. But no, I mean, I think that's the most I've ever spoken about Man United, and to be honest, I don't really want to speak about them again until we beat them, really, Harry.
Well, no, I'm sure. You might be doing if they get beat by City comfortably this weekend. We'll talk about City now. Their opponents. Weird one. They're sort of they're below Manchester United in the table. They've sort of gone under the radar a bit. They lost obviously to Spurs, and they'd lost that game to Leicester. Drew against Liverpool. They've come back and beaten Burnley and Fulham fairly convincingly. Bit boring, brand of football that sort of they seem to be playing this year. But it's a big game. I mean, I think Ollie's obviously had the wool over Pep in recent sort of months and years, and I just wonder whether. It's obviously at Old Trafford, which is probably worse for Manchester United because they're better on the road. I think whoever loses this game, not that Pep's in any danger, he's just signed a new contract, but obviously I think both of them will probably take a point out of this. I don't think Man City could afford to lose. I think if they lost this game, I think the title could start to be looking too far away from them. I mean, you look at the table, it's quite hard because they've got the game in hand, but obviously they're 6 points behind Tottenham and Liverpool, with both Tottenham and Liverpool to play each other. If they both win, whoever wins that game could be quite a way clear of Manchester City by the time that comes around. So I think Man City need a victory here. I think they have to go to Old Trafford and get a win, and for Manchester United, and obviously defeat could mean Ollie's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see. Well, I mean, you never know, but I don't think the Manchester United boardroom will sack him after Man United. I just don't think that'll happen after Man City. Apologies, but Man City, they're a funny one really, because they started quite slow, and I think we sort of mentioned that Pep's decision making early on was a bit erratic. We drew to them, and then they've slowly started to tick on. The new signing, Fernan Torres, he looks a really, really good bit of business from Valencia. And then they've got Foden back in form, which I think is really important to sort of bed him in now as the David Silva replacement. And then, Aguero's injured on and off. And I just think that part of me thinks, well, if they keep ticking on the points and keep right up there, I think they'll spend big in January on a striker, because Aguero's broken down again for another 6 weeks. But in my opinion, Aguero doesn't really owe Pep or Man City anything. He's scored enough goals to justify his salary at Manchester City. He's won them a title. He's been the really good signing over the years. And Jesus, I don't know what's up with Jesus. I tipped him to score first because I thought, well, if he's ever going to score this year, he's going to score against Fulham. And he just, I don't know, he's hyped up a lot. He's obviously a good player, but is he the right man to lead the line for Manchester City if they want to win a Champions League, if they want to win the Premier League? You know, do you not think that now Pep signed a new deal? Is the part of you then thinking that actually Lionel Messi is going to come to Manchester City at some point? Is that why Pep signed the new deal? Because, I mean, that's some of the talk. I genuinely think Pep wouldn't have signed that deal unless he's got some guarantees somewhere down the line.
The whole Pep New Deal thing is a weird one for me because it's not long enough. It's a 2-year extension, isn't it? So it's not long enough that it sort of is like he can rebuild a new team and develop sort of a 4-year cycle or whatever, that he's going to go again. I think to me, I feel like they should either get rid of Pep now or get rid of Pep, give him 4 years. Maybe he will do 4 years, but mate, I feel personally, who knows? I'm not inside the inner sanctuary of the Etihad and East Manchester, but I think the 2-year deal is sort of a thing that we don't have to pay him off if things keep going the way they've gone this year. Obviously, last year they only won the League Cup. It was an absolute failure. There's no doubt about that, finishing the most amount of points behind the champions in history. And this year they're not going that well. Europe, they've qualified. That has to be the goal for Manchester City. I mean, you look at the Premier League, there's so many sides that are in the running. This weekend is a massive game. If they don't win it, for me, I genuinely think I'd rule them out of contention. I think if they lose, their minimum, there could be 9 points behind Liverpool by the end of the weekend, and I think that's too much of a gap to claim, especially from a team that know how to win. And yeah, I think that the Champions League will become their goal. And if they win the Champions League, that is him cemented at Manchester City. There's no doubt that is Man City's only goal. They brought him to Manchester to win the Champions League, not to win 2 Premier Leagues, not to win a couple of League Cups or whatever. It's the Champions League. So that the eggs are in that basket, and I think they're favourites, or just behind Bayern Munich. And they can definitely do it. But the league seems like it... Who knows? But they've flattered to deceive for me this year. I don't think I've seen any performance from them where I've gone that they're actually any good. And yeah, you're right about the Aguero sort of situation. He's past it, and I don't think Jesus is the man. They're lacking goals. They've only scored 17 goals in 10 games, of which 7 have come against Fulham and Burnley in the last 2 games, both of which are in the bottom 4. So you look at it, take them away, it's 10 goals in 8 games. It's not very many. And they have been struggling. And it's obviously they're coming up now against, I say, a top side in Manchester United, a big club who are obviously competing in Europe or the.
I mean, the derby game, form goes out the window. I know it's a cliche, but it's so true. Literally, these teams do not like each other. There is so much history. You know, Manchester United could lose 5 in a row, but you're still on the day. The bookies aren't going to, they're still going to have a good chance of beating Man City because it's just that sort of game. It's what makes football so good, in my opinion, is these games are what you want to watch. You want to watch teams absolutely go at each other for 90 minutes. But I do think City will win, and pretty comfortably at that. We all know the sort of the shambles at what's that caravan in where they watch the bloody games. Where is it? Where they watch Stockley Park.
Stockley Park.
Yeah, we just hope and pray that there you have he's having a cup of tea at the time, and he don't interfere with what should be a great, absolute rip snort of a game. It's one of my favourite fixtures of the year. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it is. Obviously, it's a massive rivalry. I think it's in the top 5 in the league for me, after your likes of Liverpool, United, maybe, and a few others. Liverpool, Man City, I'd put above Man United now, just with the way that the two sides have gone. But moving on from that game, or just give us your prediction now, because we're going to do our predictions this week.
Yeah,
what's your prediction?
So I'm going to go 3-1 Man City. Fernandes, first goal scorer with a penalty. I think that sounds a bit like Man United. They go 1-up and lose 3-1.
Well, fair enough. You see, I'm going other way round, not 3-1, but 2-1. I'm going Man United. I think it's just the right moment. Every time I seem to think Manchester United are the sort of in a sticky patch, I think he pulls it out, and I think they'll win this one. Ollie's got it over Pep, but he's had it for the last couple of years. So, yeah, I think Man United will win 2-1. So, probably be a draw, won't it now? But, yeah, we'll move on to Everton, Chelsea. Everton, I mean, I've looked at the results this morning. They've gone draw against Liverpool, but since then they've lost to Southampton, lost to Newcastle, lost to Man United, just scraped Fulham, lost to Leeds, drawn with Burnley. They started well, and I think everyone had high hopes. I mean, I had an Everton fan mate, who was thinking Europe's top four's on. I mean, I don't even see him getting top 10 at this rate. They're falling off a cliff, haven't they? Dominic Calvert-Lewin seems to still score a few, but nothing, not setting the world alight.
No, I mean they've got Pickford in that, so they're always going to concede a few until, and they unfortunately lost Dingy out till at least February, so they're in a bit of a strife. But what's your prediction for that? Sorry, mate.
I went 2-2. I just fancied Desmond. Yeah, I fancied Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison to grab a goal each. And Chelsea, even though they are good, and I think Giroud has to start. I think Abrahams, as we mentioned earlier, he's the weak link in that attack. I think Giroud sort of does his job and does it well. Werner seems to be struggling to score. He seems to be playing well, but it's finding the back of the net seems to be a challenge for him. And Chelsea get flying. But I think Everton will turn up at home in a big game. It's normally a good fixture as well, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Werner failed to score, and Meslier had a right game on Saturday when played him, and yeah. So for me, I think Everton. I just think they look so much weaker now. They've lost their two sort of wing backs. I think that's what made them so good and sort of made them so creative going forward. James is getting a bit of stick in the press, well, namely TalkSport from Gabby Abonglaw. But if you take any notes of what he says, then good luck to your sporting knowledge. But he said he don't like it cold, but I don't think he's ever been to Bavaria where he's been last year, and it's bloody freezing there. So anyway, that's a sidetrack. But I'm going to go Everton 0, Chelsea 2, and I think Giroud double. I think they'll just have too much for him. I think that's a fair score if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I can see it. And then the first game of the weekend, Friday night football, Leeds West Ham. What do you reckon? Briefly, because I know you're going for hours if we're talking about Leeds, but it's a big game. West Ham are flying. To be fair, I know they played well against United first half. They're missing Antonio, aren't they? But yeah, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go the Mighty Whites 4, West Ham 1, and
Jesus.
Bambino hat-trick. No, I'm joking. No, yeah, 4-1 though. I think Bielsa will have them riled up. I think they were upset with the way they showed themselves at Chelsea, and Bielsa will have them going 4-1 Leeds.
You must have freshly painted your house or something. Them fumes, whatever, some sniffing salts or something in that room.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, who knows? West Ham are a good side. Maybe David Moyes gets back on Zoom. He can join one of our calls. Maybe that'll be interesting
maybe.
to see.
Probably operating better than you, mate.
Yeah, no, we take our time. Wolves Villa. What do you reckon? Big Midlands derby, I suppose it is. Obviously, Wolverhampton versus Birmingham. You never know with Villa, do you? Which Villa turns up. They've had a few brilliant results this year. They've had some incredible results, and they've also had some absolute stinkers. Namely, obviously against the Mighty Whites, as you put it, and obviously, namely against Liverpool, they had an absolute worldie. But you never know. For me, Jimenez missing is a big miss. I think for Wolves. Obviously, touch wood. Hopefully, he gets better soon. I think that the signs are promising. And they got battered last week against Liverpool. Liverpool were excellent, which we haven't really touched upon, but we'll leave that for another time. I think Wolves will bounce back there. I'm going 2-1.
2-1. What was your prediction for Leeds West Ham?
Oh, it was Desmond.
Desmond again. Thought this was no Splinters, as mate. You've predicted 2 draws. No, I echo your sentiment on Jimenez. It was an awful incident, and the signs are good. Wolves, for me, they did a job on Arsenal. Villa are on the slide, as we said. They thought they were Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Brazil reincarnated first 4 games in, and then they wouldn't shut up about Liverpool. However, they are now reality slapping them in the face. So I'm going to go with a comfortable Wolves victory of 2-0.
Fair enough. Yeah, as you say about Villa, I'm just going to point out they have got 2 games in hand. So if they win them both, they'll be in the top 4. So then Well, exactly. Who knows? But we'll go to probably the most boring game of the weekend. Sorry to all the Baggies fans and the Geordies up there. Newcastle versus West Brom. For me, not much to say on it. Two boring sides. I think there'll be one or two goals in it. I think if you're going to pick a bet this weekend, one of my naps, as well as Anthony Joshua to win rounds 5 to 8, will be this goal under 2.5. I can't see many goals in it at all. But I'm going 1-0 Newcastle, Callum Wilson.
1-0, right. Yeah, see, I thought the Baggies played well against Manchester United, and they played well against Sheffield when they won. They won, I think. And I actually like Carlin Grant as a striker. I watched him a bit when he played in the Championship, and so I'm going to go Newcastle 0, West Brom 1. So I'm going against you here.
1. Yeah, opposite result. The big one we've already touched upon, Man United versus Man City. We've done Everton versus Chelsea. So we'll go to the Southampton versus Sheffield United. For me, Sheffield United in dire straits. I mean, Chris Wilder's picking a fight with the best manager in the world. Chris Wilder's going to be back going away to. He's going to be going away to Stoke, and he'll be moaning like Neil Warnock about the changing rooms next year. He'll be going. That was a good. If you've not seen that, check that out. Neil Warnock's rant about Stoke's facilities.
I won't have my animals in there. It's a disgrace. A disgrace.
Oh, he needs Paddy Kenny, doesn't he? Paddy Kenny will mop it up. But no, I think for me, Saints will win this game, and I think they'll win it 2-0. I'll be surprised if Sheffield United score. They've got 5 goals in 11 games, I think. Not very promising at all for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chris Wilder, to be fair, he's not picked to fight. He's been picked on by Klopp, if you ask me. Chris Wilder has no business scrapping with Klopp. However, he does keep chiming back, and Klopp just keeps absolutely ruining him, which is quite good to see because Chris Wilder is a bit of a knob. I just think Sheffield United, the problem started when they started going out in Harrogate every week. You don't go out as much, do you, Harry? But on a Friday night, you wouldn't be opposed to seeing Billy Sharp, Ollie McBurney, and the likes living it up in the bright lights of Harrogate, having a few beers and staggering home at 2 a.m. So I am really not surprised that they're in this mess, because you wouldn't see Calvin Phillips and Luke Ayling out till 2 a.m. in Harrogate.
You mean the Calvin Phillips? You mean the Calvin Phillips that was in Banyan the other week?
The one that was injured. He was on injured reserve at a reasonable time. I was reliably informed. Southampton 3, Sheffield United 1. I think Che Adams scores. He's an old. I think he's an old Sheffield. No, he's not. I'm talking rubbish. Anyway, Che Adams 3-1.
Talking rubbish. To be fair, I thought he was, but I don't know. Who knows? We're not experts. We're just two muppets having a chat. Spurs versus Crystal Palace. A notoriously hard place to go. Crystal Palace, apparently the best away fans in the country. I'm sure you'll disagree with your white tinted glasses on. Crystal Palace doing a good job. Roy Hodgson's always a good manager, except from when it's for England and Liverpool. For me, I'm going to go Spurs 3-1. I think they might be a bit more expansive this week. 3-1.
Palace are a funny one, aren't they? They play, there's some weeks that they're really good, other weeks, but I think that's just the way of the Premier League this year. It's just there's no set rhyme or rhythm. There's teams at the top, but then you've got that sort of bunch of teams that just can't quite seem to hit a bit of form. For me, Spurs were excellent against Arsenal. The less said about Arsenal, the better, to be honest. I don't know if you watched Arsenal Fan TV, but I flicked on their match review and DT was giving everyone 0. It's quite entertaining if you want to give it a watch. He pretty much
the thing. Now we're on the YouTube world, I suppose. We're part of the YouTube sphere. Not that we can rival Arsenal Fan TV, nor do we want to. But I do enjoy DT, to be fair. I mean, a lot of people hate the Arsenal fan stuff, Robbie and Gus or whatever. I do find DT quite amusing, some of the stuff, more the clips. It's
he walked off halfway through the game. He did his match review, and he goes to Hector Bellerin and he says 0, and then he chimes up with one of the best stats I've ever heard, that Hector Bellerin has done more foul throws in the last 4 games than Arsenal have scored goals. I mean,
Yeah, I saw that.
what a start! What a start, man! Fair play to him. He was fuming.
Very village. What did you have for Palace Spurs?
Palace 0, Spurs 2.
Yeah, fair enough. Boring result. 2-0, most dangerous score in football, if you believe the idiots. Fulham versus Liverpool. Liverpool should absolutely blitz Fulham. They should really have a week off for all the star players. Hopefully, Klopp rests them all in Midtjylland, wherever it is, Denmark or Belgium, in it. I don't know, somewhere like that. So obviously he should be rested, fit and raring to go. Sunday, I think, Sunday afternoon in London. For me, 4-1, 4-0, 4-1. 4-1 we'll go with, but Liverpool comfortably.
So Fulham 1, Liverpool 4. Yeah, I mean, Scott Parker, I've sort of grown to like him. I think he's just sort of he's just Fulham in it. They're not doing very well, but I actually think he's coming across quite well in his interviews after the game. And there's a bloke on Twitter that puts the streets over every interview, which I really do enjoy. However, that's not going to save him from this division, despite his best efforts. And I'm going to go Fulham 0, Liverpool 5. I think Klopp are going to have a field day down at the Craven Cottage. I actually went there with Leeds, and they don't serve cider, so I had to have a pint of rosé. So that sums it up, really.
Oh, you were going to talk about your gluten intolerance, is it?
No, I'm just saying I asked for a pint of cider, which most football grounds stock. However, they said we don't serve cider, we only serve rosé, sir. So I says I'll have a pint.
It's the posh part.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have Bovril, don't you, at Ellen Road?
Hey, boy, you're lucky. That's like fine dining, mate. You get like corporate Bovril.
Margaret with her 8 fingers serving you.
Yeah.
So it's Arsenal versus Burnley next. Battle of two very boring, poor defensive sides. For me, I've got a sneaky feeling that Burnley do it. I think if Arteta loses this, I know it's early days, he's won a cup, but they should be in a relegation battle, really, in terms of they're just lucky there's 4 genuinely terrible sides in the Premier League. But they really do need a result, Arsenal. But for me, I think Burnley are going to nab it 1-0.
Yeah, I try not to sort of match your scores on it because it sort of defeats the objective of a preview. But I really do fancy a Burnley 1-0. Chris Wood in off his arse in the 78th minute. Some absolute shithousing going on. Arteta won't know what to do because he plays such negative football. If all of a sudden Burnley start playing him at their own game, he's going to be absolutely up a creek without a paddle, even not up a paddle without a creek.
It'll be like watching England rugby, won't it? Just kicking the ball away to each other. We don't. You keep it.
Jesus, even in the Golden Point, they were still trying their best to boot the ball back and forth. Like the Brexit talks all over the fishing rights, the English and French are booting it back and forth. Anyway,
yeah, well, you'll be at your Brexit rallies. Go on, give you a score and then let us know about Leicester Brighton.
1-0 Burnley, I think.
Cool. What about Leicester Brighton then? The Foxes.
Well, the Foxes. I think Vardy's scoring again, which is always good for Brendan to have. And I think Brighton on a bit of a bullet, aren't they? They haven't won in a few games. So Leicester 2, Brighton 1.
For me, 3-1 Leicester. I think Vardy a couple maybe, and someone like Maddison or somebody to get on the score sheet. I think Leicester will win again, and obviously Jamie Vardy with another excellent celebration.
Yeah,
smashing the corner flag. Very good. That's the football, and we've touched on the football now. So I think we're going to finish it off with the final bit on a bit of the boxing.
Yes, I just fancy Pulev. I forgot to tell you about another bet I had on the weekend. When I was sat there, I tell you,
Arthur.
I had Mr. Arthur. I thought Anthony Yarde was a ridiculous price. And Mr. Arthur, the Manchester Bomber, it's probably not best to call him Manchester Bomber anymore, but we can always edit that out. But he used to be called the Manchester Bomber. I don't know what he's called now. So that was a bit partridge. Anyway, Lyndon Arthur just stood behind his left, give Yard the old jab. If you're watching YouTube, you'll see me form. That's all he did all fight, and Yardy had no answer for it. Couldn't get inside him to the last round. Rocked him in the last, but it was too late. And Styles win fights, as they say, and he won comfortably.
He did, yeah. Well, fair play for having that on. I mean, you're right. I mean, some of the prices. This is what I do say to people about, especially about boxing. You look at the prices. I mean, I was very strong the week before that Joe Joyce was a ridiculous price for what it was. And obviously Lyndon Arthur was a ridiculous price. I didn't get on it because I still thought Anthony Yard would win, but I think he was 10-1 on, and there was no way that he should have been 10-1 on against a 17-0 fighter in Lyndon Arthur. But Lyndon Arthur only used, as you say, his jab, didn't throw the right or anything, and he still won. Anthony Yard's come out and obviously said it was a robbery and a load of shit. I mean, lions in the camp. He's got Tunde Ajayi just shouting lions in the camp in his corner, talking absolute bollocks to him. He needs to sort it out. I mean, he could be a good fighter. The big fight between Buatsi and Yard that might have edged to a pay-per-view next year has gone up in smoke. I mean, and to have a rematch in a domestic battle, I think it's an absolute joke. But fair play.
You can't possibly justify a pay-per-view for Yard now after that. It was boring. It was shy. You know, if someone's standing behind the jab, you've just got to go really aggressive and blast him away. If you're the best pound-for-pound boxer in your weight division in Britain, you're fighting a British title fight, you should have had no problem against him. And the fact he couldn't knock him says a lot.
Joshua Buatsi would take him to school and do silly things to him. He'd probably have to ring a helpline to say what would happen in that fight.
Four lines in his camp.
So obviously the BT Queensbury Frank Warren Brigade has had an absolute stinker. They've sort of two-star men, Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yard and Daniel Dubois, both massive favourites in the last two fights. Both. Well, in fairness, neither of them were that interesting in terms of their actual action, but both interesting in terms of the results. Both underdogs. And you look at Lyndon Arthur; he's been coming out. He is just like Joe Joyce is. They're both Frank Warren and BT and Queensbury fighters. They were the underdogs. And ever since they were victorious, no one's built the hype around them. You look at Lyndon Arthur, he's coming out on Twitter saying, did I win or lose? I'm not sure my promoters are aware. He's slating the way that Frank Warren and the BT sort of channel have been treating him, and he's right to do so. At the end of the day, he's the victor, he's won. You need to build a superstar out of that guy. Lyndon Arthur's a nobody compared to Anthony Yard. Joe Joyce, he's not a nobody compared to Daniel Dubois, but Daniel Dubois was seen as the future. At the end of the day, Joe Joyce is in line for a world title shot. They need to be there singing his name, chanting his name, saying he's going to win, not coming out saying, oh, we should have a rematch between these two. That's not what needs to happen. The BT brigade have come crashing down, and Frank Warren's shown that why he's a B-Tech Eddie Hearn. And we're going to talk about one of Eddie Hearn's fights this weekend, the matchroom things. I failed to get my tickets for it. Joshua Pulev, I was hoping to go, but wasn't so lucky to be one of the 1,000 that were in attendance. Joshua Pulev. Did you just say you thought Pulev was going to win?
Yeah, I think Pulev's got a good chance of beating him. And if you read all the talk coming out of Pulev camp, Pulev thinks he's going to knock him out. And we all heard that before when he went and fought that fat knacker over in America who knocked him clean out. Well, Pulev's a different kettle of fish, mate.
Pulev's a different kettle of fish. 39 years old, nearly 40. He's an IBF mandatory. So people that come out there saying Joshua's only fighting X, and so he has to fight this guy. If you don't understand that, you don't get it. Pulev only lost to Vladimir Klitschko back in 2014. Supposed to fight Anthony Joshua in 2017 at Cardiff, and obviously pulled out late with injury, and Carlos Takam stepped in. Had victories over Derek Chisora and Hughie Fury, notably from Britain. But I don't think you can look at Pulev and think anything other than a Joshua destructive knockout for me. You're right. If he does lose, it would be a massive shock, much bigger than, not much bigger because he's lost now, AJ. So that sort of instability is gone. But I think Andy Ruiz is a much better fighter than Kubrat Pulev. He's a big stiff European, big stiff idiot. And we'll talk about him in a second just to finish the pod. But I just think Anthony Joshua is going to blitz him. I think it'll be a cagey start. He'll come through, and in round 7 or 8, I think he'll knock him out. But my nap is rounds 5 to 8. Anthony Joshua, it's 2-1 via KO. I think it'll be a devastating knockout, and then hopefully Tyson Fury is going to be ringside and we're going to get the biggest fight in British boxing, European boxing, and boxing outside of Floyd Mayweather for the last 20, 30 years. I think that's just going to be such a monster fight, and it's one I can't wait for. And Anthony Joshua is going to put Tyson Fury all over the place and become the unified, undisputed Ring Magazine lineal heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, I mean, just, your stallion obsession with Anthony Joshua is worrying at times, but nevertheless, we'll let you off. Everyone needs a hero. So no, I think Joshua, he's I think the whole undefeatable when he got put on his ass by Ruiz sort of came out, and he was training in Miami, and he's gone back to basics a bit. So hopefully he's learned his lessons really with going down the route of trying to be bigger than he is. However, I think Pulev has said a couple of times this week, he says he sees a lot of mistakes from Joshua. I tend to agree. I don't think Joshua is as solid as everyone makes out. And you just never know with his mindset. If he starts getting whacked about, his mind might drift back to the Madison Square Garden, and he could take the knee and be the end of him. But I actually, as a boxing fan, I hope Joshua does win, even though I'm going to back Pulev at 6-1, a tenner on there, and it's a tidy little return.
I'll give you tens, mate.
Yeah, I'll take tens off you any day of the week, pal. And we hope to see Fury Joshua, the mega fight that everyone wants to see. I'm a big Tyson Fury fan. I just like him. I like characters in sport. I like balls, and he's the one.
Captain Contradiction this week of Tyson Fury, who's come out and said that he doesn't want to be a superstar. Anthony Joshua offered him a position on his team, saying he'll look after him and manage him and make him a superstar. Obviously, a little bit tongue-in-cheek from the AJ camp, but he's right. I mean, Anthony Joshua is the star attraction. He's the global superstar in boxing. He's absolutely. He's got far more audience, bigger interest, makes more money than Tyson Fury does. Tyson Fury needs a dance partner. He's had one pay-per-view opponent, two pay-per-view opponents in his life, both of which have been Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder, two superstars in their own right. You look at Tyson Fury coming out saying, I don't want to be a superstar. Well, what were you doing in Saudi Arabia, Chief? You were in Saudi Arabia pouncing about in a WWE ring, the Gypsy King in his absolutely making money, trying to become a superstar, trying to become such a global, and there's nothing wrong with it. But don't be a Captain Contradiction that you are. He's sat there he's also telling everyone that he doesn't want awards. He doesn't need awards and gratification to know that he's the people's champion and all this bollocks. Whilst he's sat in front of a trophy cabinet full of awards and belts that's telling the world what he's won.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the world.
He's a good boxer. I don't want to be on the sports personality. I don't need anyone to tell me I'm good. I know it, and the people love me anyway. I don't take me off your list. The bloke's an absolute walking contradiction. All he does is talk shite all day, every day. I mean, his mouth's like absolutely not. His mouth's like a toilet seat, mate. He just doesn't know when to stop. Yeah. The amount of, he must have a sewer pit in his house for the amount he talks rubbish. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's just full of it.
You're just focusing on the negatives. I'd like to see the best in people, and what he's done for charity.
Oh, how nice!
His book's brilliant. I recommend it to anyone to give it a read. You say he's not a superstar, but has Anthony Joshua been on Joe Rogan podcast? No. Has Tyson Fury been on the Joe Rogan podcast? Yes. Tyson Fury is
the barometer of
it's the biggest podcast in the world.
He has people like nurses on there. He's had over 1,000. He's had 1,300.
10 million subscribers on YouTube, so he must be it must be a big name to get on that show anyway. I think
Anthony Joshua's got 12 million followers on Instagram, mate.
Yeah, but you go around the street in America and you ask anyone who Anthony Joshua is, and they either say who or no.
You mean the most watched? Wait, 1 second. You mean the most watched fight in America in 2019? It was it's got far wider reaching audience than Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder did. 1.4 million people in America tune in to watch Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua 2. 800,000 people bought Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. 800,000 people. They had 60 seconds of sponsorship or advertising on the Super Bowl alone. That fight absolutely flopped because neither of them are superstars. All he is He's an absolute mouthpiece. He's a great boxer. He's a fantastic boxer. I've got absolutely nothing to say in terms of his boxing ability. I personally make him the favourite against Anthony Joshua, even though I believe AJ will splatter him all over that ring. But what he's achieved in boxing is phenomenal. His record and resume is nowhere near the level of Anthony Joshua. Kubrat Pulev would be the third best opponent Tyson Fury would ever have faced, but hands down. And he's not in the top 7 or 8 for Anthony Joshua. They're in different levels in terms of the opponents they've both fought. Deontay Wilder isn't as good as everyone thinks he is. Tyson Fury absolutely went over there and handed him on his arse. Yeah. All credit to him. But Tyson Fury is not the superstar that you're saying that he is, and he's full of absolute rubbish, mate. He doesn't stop talking nonsense, and just
you clearly a Joshua fan, but Tyson Fury, you forget he's not as commercial as Joshua, because a few years ago he said his religious beliefs, which don't fit today's modern values, whether you agree with him or not, he doesn't get the commercial deals because he completely blew it.
Because he's not a great bloke, and he's also a drug cheat. So it's all fine. He's a drug cheat, and he's got some interesting and abhorrent views. So it's fairly clear on.
Yeah, but he's the people's champion, and he's my champion, and he's gonna splatter Joshua all over the gaff, mate.
Well, let's hope we get to see it, because I for one can't wait to be there. I can't wait to see it. Let us know what you think. This video is going to be on YouTube with any luck, unless technological things go wrong. You'll be able to see Harv and Bielsa on the screen, and obviously my pretty face once again. Let us know, give us a follow, give us a like, subscribe, and pass the pod.
Harv's tips again this week. Harv's tips again this week.
They went well last week, didn't they, Harv?
Yeah, they did. We had a good winner, the Skeleton winner, All Mankind. He came in at a nice 2-1. We had a 16-1 place, and Altior was a non-runner, unfortunately, and then we got 4 out of the 5 on the both teams to score. So all in all, a good start to Harv's tips.
Yeah, well, it was a 46-1 winner, 13-fold. It was came in fairly nicely. So it's been a good few months for the real tipster in the group. What do you reckon?
Put your money where your mouth is and jump on Harv's tips. It's off, and let's see it. Let's see it before it happens.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll both put in £10.
Yeah.
And we'll see who can get the most within, I don't know, a certain period of time. Where do we end up?
Before Christmas, yeah. Let's have a go.
Before Christmas. There it is. Competition time. Lovely to speak to you all. Hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast. Obviously I've watched the YouTube channel. Hopefully we can have a few videos. If anybody's got anything to say, let us know in the comments. Give us a like, subscribe, and speak to you soon.
Yeah, all the best. God bless.